Hello and welcome to another weekly analysis behind the news. The quote of the week has got to be Trump telling Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell to go nuclear when it comes to confirming his nominee for the Supreme Court. Just what does this mean? He's making a reference to suspending the rule of 60 in order to have a simple majority stop a filibuster instead of 60. The Senate's rule of 60 points directly to the number of senators needed to invoke cloture or stop debate during a filibuster. And you can bet that Senate Democrats will be using that tool quite often. However, a simple majority can vote to suspend this 60 rule in what's known as the nuclear option. As The Hill reports, Democrats used this nuclear option in 2011 and 2013. It appears it may come back to haunt them if McConnell agrees with Trump. And the upcoming hearings perfectly highlight the fantastic problem of which our founding fathers tried to warn us. John Adams wrote, "There is nothing which I dread so much as the division of the Republic into two great parties, each arranged under its leader, and concerting measures in opposition to each other. This, in my humble apprehension, is to be dreaded as the greatest political evil under our Constitution." And George Washington inserted into his farewell address that political parties are not a spirit to be encouraged, because this spirit is more like an unquenchable fire that will burst into a consuming flame. So watch these upcoming hearings to see if our elected leaders, who have sworn an oath to the Constitution, place the agenda of their political parties over the Constitution and American jurisprudence as a whole. Many of those at the hearing would rather not see judges follow the law, rather interpret it to fit a specific political agenda. Yet, should there be any political influence in the American jurisprudence system? Shouldn't justices simply apply the law as written instead of interpreting the law? Shouldn't they just obey it? We have seen this justice system morph into an unwieldy animal that has created extraordinarily bad precedents as judges continue to pile on their opinions of interpretation that involves their own personal proclivities and political agenda. So, while many may like Trump's suggestion to put the hammer down and go nuclear, it certainly shouldn't have to come to that. But neither political party can claim innocence, as they both put political agenda before the Constitution. So far, Judge Neil Gorsuch has gotten good reviews from many on both sides of the aisle. As has been pointed out, he was unanimously approved with bipartisan support when he was first installed as a federal judge in 2006. Obviously, that won't be the case this time around. However, because he received this bipartisan support, should constitutionalists be concerned? After all, wasn't it Chief Justice Roberts that had good reviews as well? And look how poorly he turned out. He helped to rewrite Obamacare twice. Also, Judge Gorsuch had a 5-year term membership in the Council on Foreign Relations, which raises some questions now, doesn't it? Why did he join this globalist outfit? What did he hope to gain from it? Why didn't he transition from term membership to full membership? Did he or the organization decide to end his membership? We simply do not know. But it seems we won't know for any justice until after their installation, for sure. So let's hope and pray that Gorsuch turns out to be much more like the late Justice Scalia, as some are predicting. And this brings up another point. How long are judges installed? Well, let's take a look at the Constitution. Article 3, Section 1. It opens with, "The judicial power of the United States shall be vested in one Supreme Court, and in such inferior courts as the Congress may from time to time ordain and establish. The judges, both of the Supreme and inferior courts, shall hold their offices during good behavior and shall, at stated times, receive for their services a compensation, which shall not be diminished during their continuance in office." Did you catch that? Judges, both of the Supreme and inferior courts, shall hold their offices during good behavior. Would you consider not obeying the Constitution and twisting its meaning to fit a political agenda good behavior? So who gets to judge this behavior? Since Congress ordains and establishes these justices and courts, it has the power to impose accountability. The House of Representatives has the sole power of impeachment, and the Senate tries the case of impeachment. Congress also has the power to limit the appellate jurisdiction of the Supreme Court. So if they just can't get it right, Congress can pull it away from them as far as their jurisdiction goes. Much like Roe versus Wade. Wouldn't you like to see Congress send that back to the states? Check out Article 3, Section 3, Clause 2. But I digress. Impeaching judges is not a common practice, and according to the Federal Judicial Center, only 15 federal judges have been impeached, including a Supreme Court justice in 1805. But one organization attempted to rally public opinion to get a Supreme Court Chief Justice impeached in the 1960s. Of course, I am referring to the John Birch Society. JBS founder Robert Welch decided to make an example of activist judge Chief Justice Earl Warren. After billboards went up across the country and letters flooded Congress urging them to impeach the Chief Justice, the mainstream media smeared Mr. Welch and JBS as a bunch of racists and helped to kill the effort. So we have to ask, how has the court performed since then? For the most part, it has helped to hurry the pace that immorality has attacked and in many cases overtaken the very foundations of liberty. Isn't it time that Congress begin using the tools available to it in the Constitution? After all, if you and I are accountable for our actions, especially to our employers and ultimately to our Maker, why should judges be any different? Shifting our focus, we see that the Berkeley campus, that liberal bastion of free speech out there, erupted into violence after these violent leftists filled streets, vandalized buildings, burned property, and were successful in getting a Milo presentation canceled. New York Times covered it in the article and the headline, "Anarchists respond to Trump's inauguration by any means necessary." They have a quote in here from a writer. And the writer is Eric Larson from Massachusetts, who helped publicize the anarchist protests. And he says, yes, what the Black Bloc did last night was destructive to property. And what he's talking about, the Black Bloc, he's talking about the black-clad demonstrators. He continues, but do you just let someone like Milo go wherever he wants and spread his hate? That kind of argument can devolve into just sit on your hands and wait for it to pass. And it doesn't. Folks, there are so many things wrong with that statement. And you can probably name just as many of them as I can. However, let's get one thing straight. What the paper calls anarchists are not anarchists. Anarchists don't carry the communist hammer and sickle flag. Anarchists advocate for zero government. And communists want total government that owns all of your property and makes the decisions for you. The article said that these violent activists will go all over the country to shut down meetings and gatherings. They claim to have been a part of all the violence that has taken place around the country against the police, Trump, and conservatives. Now, what does that tell you? That someone is coordinating and financing them, but of course, the article does not say who. But we have a pretty good idea of who it is, don't we? The tactics being used are those of the fascists of the 1920s and 1930s. They used them to stifle free speech and to stop any opposition from coming to power. You won't see organized bands of conservatives or Christians destroying property, beating people up, or shutting down meetings. Yet those that do use fascist and communist tactics claim that their ends justify the means, all the while proclaiming that they are the peaceful ones. Have we got your attention yet? What has the last 8 years brought to a head? That globalist forces are working together to accomplish an agenda that is the complete opposite of what America was founded upon. For the last 59 years, the John Birch Society has documented communist movements throughout history, showing that this is the muscle that the globalist forces use. Their reaction to Trump's election does not bode well for America for at least the next 4 years. Now, this doesn't mean that all those opposed to Trump are communists or even sympathizers. In fact, if these were isolated incidents with small groups, we could probably just ignore it. But the fact of the matter is that they are tied together in organization and funding that probably stretches from George Soros to members of Congress. For more on that, watch The Enemies Within, a documentary by Trevor Loudon. And you can bet that you're going to see more and more of this happening across the country. So while I'm asking you again, have we got your attention? If so, it's time to get involved. Join the only organization that knows the global problem and has the appropriate solution. Join or donate to the John Birch Society today. Visit jbs.org for more information. And be sure to like and share this video with family and friends. Sign up for our e-newsletters and subscribe to our social media channels. Until next week, we'll see you then.